Ah, the sea! She carries our legions, our grain, our goods from the far edges of the empire. But she also humbles even the proudest of men. For all the might of Rome, its legions, its laws, its luxuries, when a man takes to the sea, he is at nature's mercy. And nowhere is that more obvious than when he must answer the call of nature itself. You may think that the worst trials of a sea voyage are storms or pirates, but no, let me tell you, it is the moment when one must relieve oneself aboard a Roman ship that the true test of dignity begins. There are no grand latrines on these vessels, no marble benches like those in the baths of Carthage or Ostia, no mosaics to gaze upon while one contemplates the day, no perfumed slaves to bring cloth or scented oils. Here, on the creaking decks of a merchant galley or warship, we squat like common dogs, over a simple board with a hole built out over the prow of the ship. It is called the forica, and while it serves its purpose, it is no place for modesty. Perched above the sea with your tunic hiked up, exposed to the wind and the stares of your fellow sailors, one quickly learns humility. There is no privacy here, only the sky above, the water below, and the constant threat that one good wave might carry you off into Neptune's embrace. And yet it is here, balanced between sky and sea, trousers up around your knees, that you come to understand the fragility of the body and the folly of pride. Even a Roman senator, if he found himself aboard, would have no better place to sit. This, dear listener, is but the beginning. In the watches to come, I shall tell you more of how the crew coped, what they used to wipe, and what happened when storms forced us below deck with no fresh air and nowhere to go. Now imagine this. The seas turn rough. Jupiter growls in the clouds and Neptune stirs the waters. The bow of the ship plunges into wave after wave, and no man dares use the forica at the prow. To squat there in such weather would be to court death, and so we are driven below deck. Below the air is heavy, thick with the breath of 100 men and the stench of unwashed bodies. The oarsmen, if it is a galley, already labor in the heat, and now, when nature calls, there is nowhere to go. Some men, those with discipline, resort to chamber pots, clay vessels passed between hammocks in whispered shame. But most do what they must. They squat near the stairwells, piss in corners, or lean over the bilge grates where water collects in the ship's belly. The result, I need not tell you, is appalling. Waste seeps down through the wooden planks, carried by the motion of the waves. It puddles, it festers. The bilge, the lowest part of the hull, becomes a pit of filth foul enough to make even the hardened legionaries gag. We tried to keep it clean. Slaves or unfortunate sailors would operate the pumps, drawing out that cursed water. But the smell, by the gods, the smell, it clings to you. It sinks into the wood. No incense can mask it. No vinegar wash will chase it away. And yet we endure. A voyage from Ostia to Alexandria may last weeks, and each day below deck becomes a battle of its own. Not of sword and shield, but of nose and stomach. One learns to eat quickly and breathe through the mouth. But the worst part? Disease. These cramped, unsanitary quarters breed illness faster than any battlefield. One careless act, one chamber pot left unemptied, and dysentery can spread like wildfire through the hold. Still we press on, because Rome's empire runs on salt and grain and iron, and the sea is the road we must travel. Of course, not all aboard a Roman vessel faced the same humiliations. As in all things under the sun, the dignity of defecation was divided by rank. If you were an officer, a wealthy merchant, or a favored guest of the ship's captain, your needs were better accommodated. Toward the stern, in the shadow of the quarterdeck, there were often small enclosures, wooden boxes tucked discreetly at the ship's side. We called them latrinae privatae. These spaces were not luxurious by the standards of a Roman villa, no mosaics of dolphins, no marble benches carved with Bacchic scenes, but they offered the one thing every sailor craved: privacy. Within these little closets, a man might sit in peace, shielded from wind and eyes. The seat was still a board with a hole, the waist still dropped directly into the sea, but at least the user didn't have to cling to a beam and pray to Fortuna he wouldn't be swept away mid-act. Some ships even carried chamber pots of bronze or fired clay for the officers, cleaned regularly by slaves, and they were allowed to bathe from a bucket afterward with sponges soaked in vinegar, just as we do at home. I once served under a tribune who insisted his latrine be lined with cedar and perfumed with frankincense. We called it the privatum thronum, the private throne. He used to joke that Caesar himself had nothing better. We laughed, of course, but secretly we envied him. The hierarchy of Rome extended even to our waist. While the lowly sailor clung to a rain-slick rope, trousers around his knees and backside bared to the wind, the officer sat in quiet contemplation, his modesty intact. Still, even the finest latrine aboard a Roman ship could not keep out the stench that lingered after weeks at sea. Even the highborn had to wash their hands with seawater and dry them on their cloaks. And when the storms came, all distinctions disappeared. Nature, as ever, is a great equalizer. In better weather we could clean, pour buckets of seawater, burn incense, scrub the decks with vinegar-soaked cloth. But in the midst of a tempest, no man cared for cleanliness, only for staying upright. Now the sea begins to calm again, a softer breeze returning. It is a strange thing, isn't it? To conquer Gaul, to build aqueducts, to rule the known world, and yet be utterly defeated by one man's need to defecate in a storm. This too is Rome. When the storm passed, when the sea smoothed out like a senator's toga, we emerged from below like shades rising from the underworld. The deck was soaked, the sails limp, the men bleary-eyed and sore, and the stench, by the gods, the stench, hung in the air like an unwelcome guest who refused to leave. So we began the rituals of recovery. Buckets of seawater were hauled up and splashed over the planks. Slaves scrubbed with bristle brushes and vinegar-soaked cloths. Incense was burned, frankincense if you were lucky, or pitch and myrtle if not. Anything to drive out the scent of fear, filth, and humanity. Some captains kept lavender tucked into their personal quarters or oranges in sealed crates to sniff when the air grew foul. But out on the deck, where most of us lived, the only perfume was salt and sweat and the faint hope of a port not too far off. Sometimes there was humor in it all, a soldier slipping on a slick deck, covered in what we hoped was mud. A cabin boy caught relieving himself too close to the grain, chased by the cook with a ladle. Or the swabber, always the swabber, grumbling that he had once dreamed of glory and now spent his days mopping up human waste between barrels of olive oil. And through it all, we carried on, because that's what Romans do. We endure storms, hunger, homesickness, and yes, even latrine duty with the same iron will we bring to building roads and laying siege. The sea is cruel, the voyage is long, but we do not turn back. One day we arrive, the smell of land, of cypress trees and fresh bread, the promise of a bathhouse, a good wine, a clean tunic, and perhaps, just perhaps, a latrine that doesn't threaten your life. Until then, we do what must be done. We squat, we wipe, we laugh, and we pray to Fortuna for fair winds and dry feet. Thus ends our voyage through the most humble corners of Roman seafaring life. May your next journey be clean and well ventilated.
Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe to see more from us. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.